Welcome, Frances Dellutri. It's so good to see you. I know it's like it means something different nowadays, but we really appreciate you taking some time out of your day to tell us a little bit about what's going on with the National Space Society. And I know that we'll be able to talk about a few other things that you're undertaking for both students and teachers. So why don't we start with that? What is National Space Society and what is your role?
The National Space Society is a grassroots advocacy group that brings awareness and also promotes living and working in space. And it's been around for about 40 years. It was a merge of two older societies. One was called the L5 Society, and the other one was the National Space Institute. And there was a fellow called Werner von Braun who helped found those. And so very excited to have that merger take place. And that was about 40 years ago. So since then, the National Space Society has changed in so many ways in terms of outreach, and it has involvement in political things. It looks to finding cutting edge information about aerospace, about commercialization of space, and bringing that to lots of different areas. And then my part of this is I'm the Deputy Education Director of the education part of NSS. The group is called Space Edge Education. And I'm also a member of the board of the National Space Society. And so in those ways, I also move within the organization, trying to find good places for education to take a part of what's happening within the organization. NSS is now preparing for the International Space Development Conference, which is being held virtually this year. And that will take place in late June. And that will have lots of different speakers. It'll go for about 3 days. And so it'll be a great opportunity for people to learn all kinds of things about living and working in space and where we are right now and where we hope to be. So I think that would be a good thing to learn about, and I'll give you the information on that. The National Space Society involves about 6,000 members. They have 40 chapters in 8 countries right now, and there's a big push in the Asian area. India has lots of people that are very space minded, and so we're having a big interest from the Asian part of the world. So we're growing and learning lots and lots there is to know about what's happening right now in space and what will happen in the very near future.
Right. I definitely agree. I feel like the students and folks I meet from India are just ravenously excited about aerospace. And I always heard the joke that the Indian space program can do whatever NASA can, but on about 1/10 of the budget. So I always thought they were really efficient. I have a quick question. Who or what were your biggest influences which led you to not only become an officer, but a real thought leader in the National Space Society? So who were your biggest influences, or what were your biggest influences?
I think what would probably take precedence here, Kevin, I've been in different areas of careers, always in science. I've been in research and development, I've been in education, and I always felt it was interesting to troubleshoot. When I was in R&D, it was troubleshoot problems to see how a solution can be found expeditiously and efficiently with money. And when I got into education, I was really enamored with the learning that I did through the process, but also that the students did. And I taught middle school and high school. And that was a huge motivator for me. And then it became very apparent to me that education was a commodity. And it depended on where you lived in the US or in the world in terms of the caliber of education you would receive. And I grew up in a very small town in Alabama, but I had marvelous teachers and who were, of course, very dedicated and really opened their eyes to the world. And I thought about the gift of that to students to open their eyes to the world and to provide a forum that would make a big difference in their lives. And so with the National Space Society, I was a member of it for about 7 or 8 years before I really got involved. I saw an opportunity for us to reach students around the world without borders, without political connections, or now virtually without financial requirements. And that has really opened my eyes into what a difference this could make for students that would never have dreamt of really being a player in the space market or arena, as it were, or even upper education. And so that has really been my motivator. It's been the carrot in front of my eye when I hear of students that after being involved with them in an event, and they said, I never knew I could do that. I never knew that was a possibility for me. And I wonder if I do this, if I can get to this other place. And that to me is just, even that brings up the hairs on my neck, because I think that's what most educators, it just gets you going, you know? And so I think that was, it's kind of a long answer here, but I think that's what really led me to NSS, because I just felt it would be a great forum to reach out to students everywhere. And, you know, we do reach out to all ages from kindergarten through post university. And we do have a very strong education program for adults. So we're really just trying to help people understand about what space means and what it would mean to live there, and also what the impact would be beneficially for people on Earth that are helping that to happen, that settlement to happen, these successful projects to happen. I mean, there's a huge cadre of people that are involved.
So I know that you had spoken about China, and Kevin mentioned India, and I agree. I know when we spoke on the phone, the idea that this situation is negatively impacting as it may have been, so it's also opened up opportunities. So let's talk a little bit about universalization as one of the tenets of National Space Society. What is that? It takes sometimes our students a while to wrap their heads around that really big term.
Universalization is a concept that was presented in the St. Louis International Space Development Conference. It was presented to us by a professor from Ohio University named L.J. Edmonds. And it is not a tenet of the National Space Society. National Space Society wants to live and work successfully in space. And so this, as when we heard Dr. Edmonds' presentation, I was sitting there with a couple of students from India who were very excited about it. And we said, gee, wouldn't it be interesting if we had some debates about space policy and how you will decide on these policies, and take a look at this concept called universalization. And the concept of universalization takes a look, it brings everyone to the table. It looks at handling conflicts in a cooperative way. In other words, no one leaves the table until you have the solution. And that is a big push for it, that the idea that all people are represented. If they're not, we find a way to get them represented. If we have people that have higher or lower abilities, we find a way to incorporate the best that they all can give. And if we're doing that, then we are providing the best possible environment for all. So that's what universalization is really about.
And that's the idea of a settlement of some kind of future design, right? So the idea that what I thought was fascinating about it, and I still sometimes have to sit back and really think about what that means, but the idea that every nation, that the idea that space is not going to be conquered by the person whose flag gets there and that's how it goes. It really has to be a peaceful and united or universal front in order to make a society that is it's almost like an idealized society of a future.
It is. I think you're absolutely right, Shauna. And also, how will this affect us here on Earth as we're working out the conflicts here on Earth? How can we take a piece of that in kind of an ideal situation in space? How can we learn from that here on Earth to, it's taken us many, many years of civilization to get where we are. And still sometimes we let ourselves down. And so how can we learn to build this? And certainly using young people to think of how this is done, to wonder about how this is done, influences how they even are affected in their own relationships, whether it be in school or as they take on a job or handling people, having just any kind of relationship. And that's a real positive thing. So that's what we look at it as.
So maybe we could move a little bit. You had mentioned that there were some lessons that are available for teachers and students. So maybe we could talk a little bit about what you provide for that. Like what kind of educational concepts are provided to teach the concept of beyond Earth or including Earth?
Yeah, we have a platform. It's a Moodle Google platform, and it's free to students and teachers and parents or anyone who wants to use it. And this platform is built on the tenets of the NSS, which is exploring space. So you have a lot of astronomy in there, a lot of cutting edge information. All of this is with best practices of teaching, and it's with an understanding of the standards here in the U.S. called the Next Generation Science Standards, and how they fit in there, and settling space. And then the next one is I'm sorry, did I say settling? I meant exploring space would be astronomy, and then developing space, which would be some of your emerging industries and that sort of thing. And then settling space is like, how are we going to actually be in space? And so when we talked about this universalization concept and using this in our debate platform, those debates are found under settling space. How are we going to figure out how to work with one another? And so we have in that that repository, which is called, it's found at SpaceEdge, SPACEDGE.academy. And we have over 100 lessons that are for K through post-university in there that teachers can come and they can, embrace the entire offering in a particular area. Or like I did as an educator, I would be looking for something to help me convey a certain concept or an activity that would help show students how to apply something. So I might take a portion of a lesson. And these are free. We do vet everyone coming into the academy. So there is a registration process. It doesn't take long to get confirmed. But the reason we vet folks is because we have students that come in directly and use it. So under the SpaceEdge Academy, we also have the Centers for Excellence, which is for university and post-university. This is a collaboration of industries with students as well as universities. So there's some great opportunities there. We have some contests. Currently, there is a contest going on for space health, and that's really an exciting one. I think the submissions are due May 2nd. Let's see, and then we also have a group called Space Ambassadors, and that's found. A link is found on there to the Space Ambassadors. Kevin is a space ambassador. And I'll tell you a little bit about that program. That involves folks who have an interest in something that has to do with space. Usually is space settlement rather than astronomy, although there's some things in astronomy too. And they prepare lectures. And these lectures have been pre-COVID in-house lectures. And then through COVID, of course, we found that the virtual lectures can go much farther. So we've started to add them to the SpaceEdge Academy for teachers, again, to use as they wish in the classroom. And also we've added activities to them, and we show how they connect with the standards, the learning standards.
Right. Out of all the content that you have either created or that you've curated, is there one or is there a particular lesson that you just stands out to you as like, this is just one of my favorites?
Wow. There were a couple, Kevin. One was tracking satellites. because it's using technology in real time to see. You can find a satellite and learn about it and track it. And you can do that on your phone easily, but this involved more, so you could actually extrapolate where the subsequent orbits might be. And
so
that
you were teaching the math. You were showing them the math. Oh, great.
yeah.
Always good to teach the fundamentals, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Another one was Fly Me to the Moons, which was a lot of fun. And this was geared toward middle school. The other one is middle or high school. And this one also could be used in high school. But in that one, students had to take a look at moons in our solar system and choose a moon that they liked, learn about it, and then find a reason that it intrigued them. Then they had to make a 3D model of that moon. And so they learned a lot of art techniques to show craters and valleys and fissures and things like that. And so they were learning a lot more about the geography of that moon than just in a 2D picture. And I thought that was great because we do embrace STEAM, science, technology, engineering, the arts, and math. And as well as the debates do too, as they're doing public speaking and they're learning to write cases and present those cases, and all that is a part of our education in NSS.
Well, let's talk a little bit about spUN debates now. So how do students find out, even if I don't even know if students have access just to Space Edge on their own without a teacher registering
Yes,
them?
they do. They
okay,
sure do.
So students can access, so any students who are listening, we'll make sure that we get these links down in the description for you as well. But so let's talk a little bit about spUN debates, how kids get involved or how people can actually coach. I know we're always looking for coaches as well.
Yes, the students, this year we took applications from about 75 students from around the country, from around the world. And the applications open up in about November. They might open earlier next year. And so we have an application process that we need a video. We want to ask them to write some essays about some questions related to space and space settlement. And then from there, we choose students to proceed. And the next step is for them to take an online course. And so we developed 2 online courses for them, one for beginning debaters. This could be for someone who has never debated ever. And so we're not even holding them, out of the ability to be involved with us. So this online course for beginners brings them up to the spot where they can feel comfortable. And then we have, this could be non-debaters or students who've had, they've done a little speaking in their classroom, but not really in the debate forum. And then we have another course this year that was for the veterans. And in that, we're talking about debate leadership, and also the idea of how to apply universalization, because they have shown us they had an idea of it in their application. So then from there, we make up the teams. The teams are made of four people of a team from different parts of the world. These are people who have never met before. Even if they're from the same country, they're from different schools. So they haven't met. And so they come together and we find coaches for them. Our coaches come from mostly the US, but also India. We were hit pretty hard by COVID restrictions affecting people in their personal lives and also in their work lives. So we've had to kind of scramble to find those coaches, but we found them this year. And they have just now been introduced to their teams. We have 10 teams this year, and the teams carry the name of spaceports around the world. And these are not your typical well-known spaceports to everyone, like Kennedy or some of the other well-known.
Do you have Cecil Field? Is Cecil Field one of them?
It is not. It is not. But we've tried to find spaceports that are have been used. They're not planned to be used, but they've actually launched. And so we have lots of interesting names there for the students, and that's part of their education, is to learn about these spaceports. Why is the spaceport important, and where is it located on the globe? So that's been kind of fun to do. Then let's see, we'll have a practice round of something just to help them get used to debating with each other, and then we have a resolution that has to do with space traffic management. And that is what they will prepare for the tournament, which it will be in mid-June. We're dealing with different time zones. We're dealing with different ethnicities, cultures, different mindsets, which is just great, a great food for thought as we're preparing. As Shauna knows, Shauna was a coach a couple of years, and lots of really interesting conversations come out. Last year we had a coach who met a couple times a week, 3 hours at a time, because the students just would get so excited about their conversation. And she said, I just couldn't shut them down. It was so much fun. So I think it's a great experience for the students. They like putting it in their portfolio for further educational endeavors, and we're happy to provide that for them.
It really was a great experience. I mean, even though that was the first time it had gone virtual and we were having difficulties just trying to even work Zoom out, I think what was most intriguing for me was how dedicated the students from other countries were. And I mean, and I work with dedicated kids, but there was a difference. There was a difference of the respect level. There was a difference in the basically just being able to communicate and respect other people too. And I thought the biggest lesson that my students got from that was, you see what they're doing? You kind of, we have this whole ethnocentric idea that we're better than everyone else, but you probably should be more like them. It was really eye-opening for I hope at least for them, because that was one of the things I noticed a lot about it. So it was a really rewarding experience. How do, as we're about to end soon, how do people find out about, where can one go to find out information about National Space Society, find out about Space Edge Academy, and to sign up for these in the future? Is there a place they can go and get on a list, or?
Space.nss.org is the go-to place, and that can send you everywhere it needs to go. We are on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all those sort of things. So we do, try to send out as much as we can through social media. That's pretty much how you find out about things.
And that's for both students and teachers then alike.
It is. It is. And in our Space Edge Academy, we do have a what's new, what's happening kind of thing, so you can know about things that are coming up.
Great. And then I guess my final question to you would be, if you had some advice, if you wanted to give teachers, students the idea, if you were thinking about this future settlement, this future society, what can we do now as teachers and students to contribute to that vision?
Boy, that's a great question, Shauna. I think to open the doors to the possibilities of space settlement. Certainly we see a lot in the news right now about things happening in space. Percy, has made a wonderful landing on Mars and is bringing back such important information. But so what's going to happen? Why is this important? And I think asking those questions, in a classroom to start that discussion, and what would you, asking students of how would you like to find out more, excuse me, or what would you like to, can you imagine yourself being there? So what is it you would like to know about? And I think that helps a lot. What would that environment be like? How would it be safe for me? I told my students in the classroom, when you are a parent, you could well be taking your family on a vacation into space. And they just thought, oh, how is that possible? I said, watch, things are going to happen so fast that's going to actually be something that your family may be able to afford. Maybe not every year, but to even think about that, or going on a sabbatical into space for a while as a young college student, that will be available for your children. That's how close we are. And I think just igniting that fire of thought is how we get students to think about the possibilities.
You know, I'm reminded of a short story by Ray Bradbury, and of course the name is going to escape me now, but I happened to teach it this year in 6th grade as we were talking about the ideas of future, you know, what the future looks like. And it was exactly that idea that the people were traveling and they could leave from the port in New York and they would land on Mars and this story that goes down. So the idea of seeing what old science fiction and how we've always looked to the universe and beyond for our future to see what comes of that would be a really good comparison. Well, we can't thank you enough for spending your time with us today. We look forward to, you know, talking with you soon and getting involved in some of these activities. And so I'll make sure that we get those posts for you in that description. So thank you so much again.
Thank you very much.
It
It's
was
been
good.
great to be with you, Sean and Kevin. Thank you.
It was great to see.